Good morning, and welcome to this early morning Intelligence Explainer. It is the 3rd of July, 2026, and I will be your anchor for today's Stylo News Intelligence Update. We're examining the facts on the ground regarding Lebanon, Israel, and Hezbollah. We'll be looking directly at the data today, maintaining a strictly objective and analytical perspective to bring you the facts without distortion. Let's get right into the information. Before we proceed, a note that this Intelligence Explainer is sponsored by ProWave AI. They're the developer of the AI-powered Stylo Intel Ops program, which is an advanced open-source intelligence platform. They also created Stylo News, the commercial version of this technology available on the web and through mobile apps, which aggregated the data we're reviewing today. Today's briefing will cover 6 areas. We'll look at the current regional situation, local to international impacts, and decision-maker perspectives. Then we'll review public sentiment, the most likely future events, and wrap up with next steps. Let's begin with Section 1, the current regional situation. Looking at the eastern Mediterranean seaboard, take note of the relative positions of Beirut to the north and Jerusalem to the south. Our intelligence indicates that the primary kinetic engagements and localized military actions are concentrated heavily in southern Lebanon, right along the shared borderline with Israel. This geographic proximity really forms the central axis of all the current diplomatic and military developments we're seeing. Reviewing the chronological pattern of events over the latter half of June shows a clear progression. On June 20th, we observed continued kinetic engagements, with strikes reported in southern Lebanon that unfortunately resulted in casualties. By June 24th, diplomatic maneuvering led to the formation of a deconfliction cell in Geneva. This involved the US, Iran, Lebanon, Qatar, and Pakistan, though it notably excluded Israel. Shortly after, on June 26th, a U.S.-brokered framework agreement was signed in Washington. This was intended to stabilize the border through the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces and the deployment of the Lebanese army. However, open-source reporting confirmed that by June 30th, Hezbollah formally rejected this framework, setting the stage for the current impasse. Moving on to Section 2, let's examine the local to international impacts. The conflict is producing multifaceted impacts across 3 distinct tiers. Locally, the toll is severe, including over 4,000 casualties and significant devastation to infrastructure in southern Lebanon. This has prompted humanitarian aid deliveries from nations like Jordan. At the national level, Lebanon is facing severe challenges to its sovereignty. There are deep internal divisions right now regarding the proposed deployment of the Lebanese army to the south. And looking internationally, the situation has exacerbated U.S. and Iran tensions. European leaders, such as EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, have voiced support for the framework agreements, highlighting the broader risks of Middle East destabilization. A destabilized Middle East directly threatens global economic security if these diplomatic processes falter. To further quantify the sheer scale of the local impact, open-source data now confirms that over 1 million residents have been displaced across southern Lebanon and Beirut. This displacement is the direct result of ongoing airstrikes and ground incursions, and it's placing an immense strain on both public health systems and local infrastructure. We now turn to Section 3, Decision-Maker Perspectives. We'll look first at the state actors. The Lebanese government, led by President Joseph Aoun, insists on direct negotiations and the restoration of Lebanese sovereignty. Their stated goal is a firm timeline for Israeli troop withdrawal and a complete end to foreign interference. In stark contrast, the Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, prioritizes the disarmament of Hezbollah. Israeli officials maintain that their troops are going to remain in southern Lebanon until Hezbollah is fully dismantled. They view the armed group as the primary obstacle to security and peace in the region. Next, let's examine the non-state and regional actors. Hezbollah, as articulated by official Naim Qassem, demands an unconditional Israeli withdrawal. They maintain an absolute rejection of the U.S.-brokered security framework and refuse any mandates to disarm. On the other hand, Iran is engaging in much broader strategic maneuvers. Iran's primary action was pushing to establish that Geneva deconfliction cell we mentioned earlier while explicitly excluding Israel. This move appears designed to safeguard its regional influence and proxy capabilities amidst the ongoing negotiations. That brings us to Section 4, covering public sentiment and reporting. Analyzing the latest data from the platform X, formerly Twitter, reveals a highly polarized online environment. Under the Lebanon hashtag, the sentiment is anxious and divided. Users are expressing significant fears of civil war, blending their frustration over the instability with anti-occupation statements. The Hezbollah hashtag shows extreme polarization. The group is characterized as a legitimate resistance force by its supporters, but as aggressive terrorists responsible for the devastation by its critics. Finally, mentions of Israel reflect a distinctly split perspective. There's vocal support for military operations, framed as countering clear threats, which runs parallel to intense criticism regarding civilian casualties and alleged breaches of earlier ceasefires. The broad consensus across all these tags, however, is a profound anxiety over just how fragile the situation has become. Moving to Section 5, we will project the most likely future events. Our intelligence analysts currently assess the most probable course of action as episodic escalation. What this means is continued low to medium intensity clashes and limited tactical engagements. The data indicates that an immediate transition to a full-scale, all-out regional war is actually less likely in the near term. Instead, we're anticipating a sustained pattern of low visibility, localized violence, combined with ongoing, tense diplomatic maneuvering. For those monitoring the situation closely, here are specific, fact-based operational indicators you should watch for over the coming days. First, observe the status of the U.S. brokered security framework to see if any enforcement mechanisms gain traction. Second, monitor targeted Israeli military operations similar to the recent tunnel destruction reported in Majd al-Zone. Third, note any shifts regarding Iranian retaliation threats, specifically concerning Hezbollah's stronghold in the Dahiyah district of Beirut. And fourth, watch for any concrete logistical steps regarding the viability of actually deploying the Lebanese army south of the Litani River.
This leads us to Section 6, Next Steps and Subscription.
This explainer serves as your early morning primer. For a more comprehensive evaluation, we encourage you to listen to the full, in-depth Stylo News Intelligence Update Morning podcast. It's titled Lebanon, Israel, and Hezbollah, Peace or Conflict. That audio broadcast analyzes the entirety of the last 2 weeks of events in this region in far greater detail. You can find the podcast on your preferred channel or by simply following the link attached to this post. Thank you for joining us for this structured review of the facts. As a reminder, you can subscribe to Stylo News to receive AI-powered, open-source intelligence news on demand at www.stylonews.com. I'll leave you with this final, objective question to consider as you follow the headlines today. With deconfliction mechanisms stalling and episodic escalation continuing, will the region locate a viable path to sovereignty and stabilization, or are these localized clashes the permanent new reality for the border? Thank you for your time and good day.